What's good with you? You doing a trick?
I felt like playing with the cards today. I attended a little virtual magic conference on the weekend with a few of my favorite teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
in the magic conference, there were 100 people, but there were also some pretty like big figures in the magic community showed up, and
Yeah.
they contributed. And it was like this great big, kind of like being a fly on the wall, of the greats as they were sharing like tips and tricks, and it was really informal and totally sparked my love for magic again, which,
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool. So I've been just playing with cards a lot, and I thought maybe I'll just be like, I'm always shuffling cards. I don't know if you knew this, but when we're jamming in our other weekly sessions, usually I
Yeah.
have a deck of cards just below the camera anyway.
Oh, that's crazy.
But yeah, my
What
hands,
does that do? What does that do for you? Like, I'm curious. Like, having them always accessible. Like, what's the thought behind it?
I it's because my hands are like muscles, and I tend to get really fidgety if I don't have something to do.
Got it.
Um, so I train. I figure like just working a couple moves with a deck of cards in my hands, my mind goes unconscious, and then my magic improves because the moves become unconscious too.
Got it.
So I don't end up, doing anything telegraphing.
But
I maybe
you're
not
not
always do it.
intentionally, but you're not intentionally doing. It's subconscious. Is on that level.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to create anything. It's just to keep my hands, like, it actually helps me focus.
Okay.
Because otherwise I get antsy a little bit. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever had that experience. So if I have a deck of cards, and probably just because I've gotten so used to having a deck of cards,
Yeah.
I'll just, and then I'll like stop and pause, and but it's kind of like a lifeline. I always keep a deck near. And
Got it. What? How would you recommend? So, how would that look for somebody who doesn't do magic?
if like, do you mean if I was having a conversation with somebody and I just pulled out my deck of cards and started like,
Almost like, well, okay, it serves a purpose for you,
mm-hmm.
and it has it's double, right? It's like, okay, well,
Oh yeah,
stay engaged, but it also has an effect where I know, like, one of the terms, I've never used this term before until I started speaking to you, but the whole sleight of hand, right? But you're constantly are doing something to have that relationship
mm.
with your hand, is always doing something, even if it's on a subconscious level.
Mm.
So what I'm thinking is, what does that look like for somebody else who doesn't have magic as something that they do, but they can still use this vice to
Mm.
help them deal with whatever it is in terms of fidgety, and be able to go ahead and get another added benefit to it as well.
Yeah, I think it, like, the remember the fidget spinner?
Yes.
It came out a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and I speak in high schools, and every student at one point had one of these things.
Yeah.
And at first I was really irritated by it, but I actually noticed that it like, by giving the physical body something to do, the
Yeah.
mind has a channel to focus.
Got
So
it.
I think, like, in general, if you have something to do with your hands, if you tend to get distracted, it's like a little bit of a way to help focus, for sure. If you have a special skill that you're trying to build, like sleight of hand with cards, or maybe the piano, or maybe it's like basketball, or, then I think you can still train the muscles. You might not like, but I imagine even keeping yourself busy by imagining, if I'm even just dribbling a little teeny tiny ball,
Yeah.
right? I don't know for sure, but I imagine this has some bearing on the development of skill. Uh, Even if it's just putting mental resources into the passion, like to fuel the fire,
Mm-hmm.
to give you more energy the next time you have the time to learn the skill. I don't really know any research on this stuff, but I think it like ties into visualization. It ties into like getting your brain to experience the experience before you experience it.
Got it. I'm trying to think of like if I'm doing math, and I'm just taking out my calculator real quick. But if I'm doing math, I'm wondering if this is like a cheat code. I don't know if you ever heard the book Smart Cuts. Have you ever heard of the book Smart Cuts?
No, don't think
The
so.
idea of smart cuts. So the idea is that normally when we take a shortcut in something in life, essentially, there are some consequences to taking the shortcut, right? Like by taking shortcuts, we also cut short some part of the experience.
Right.
Smart cuts are shortcuts without consequences.
Mm.
Right? It's being more efficient with things. And so when I heard what you said, I'm trying to say, okay, so the 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. So there are 8,760 hours in a year. Am I doing the math correctly?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
It's
So
a bunch.
So now obviously we have sleep and all those things, but when they say, hey, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert, I wonder how many, is it conscious hours? I know obviously, because if I'm doing that, maybe it's not the same, it's not deliberate practice, but
right.
but maybe I'm able to shave the time a little bit because I'm in constant relationship with the thing as I'm doing other things. So I'm working 8 hours a day, but I have like a little basketball at my desk as I'm doing some of these meetings, and now that relationship is being built. Or like you said, the piano, but I could be on a Zoom with you right now, but have like this flat piano on my desk, and I'm just playing some music, and I'm just doing this with my fingers, and then, but I'm still engaged in the meeting, but subconsciously my fingers are having a different experience. And then I know Tony Robbins talks about when your physiology changes, your psychology changes. And so I think that part of it, of bringing more of you into the experience versus like, what were your hands doing? I don't know. Well, give it something to do. Like, like, right. I think that part of it, when you said that, I was always thinking about like, how do I do more than one thing, but not feel that I'm doing more than one thing, so I'm not double-minded, but at the same time still be able to have the ripple effect of it. Like, when you said the hand stuff, it really was like, oh snap, like that. You're not doing a trick, but your hand is like, we've been together for so long.
That's exactly it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just like the relationship, and that's why it's difficult to say for other things, because magic particularly lends itself to, I mean, this is the tool is this. That's and not entirely obviously, but in card magic, this is it. It's one little. I can put that in my pocket and produce near miracles at times with these tools. So the reward is really high. The moves are infinite, or like seemingly infinite. So there's always something that could be practiced. And the way to practice it is to repeat an action that usually takes less than a couple of seconds, but you have to practice it, like you say, 10,000 plus times to get it. So a deck of being really fidgety with a deck of cards, especially if you have any experience. If you go to a magic conference, it's hilarious because everybody, of course, has a deck of cards in their pockets. But when the lecture happens, you'll look around the room and people are, if you look at their faces, people are like they're enwrapped in what's happening on stage. They're reacting. It's still like they're fully present. And if you scroll down your view to like their abdomen, you'd see all these magicians with cards in their hands doing moves and practicing while they're at the same time fully engaged in the thing, just because it has taken so much. You have to put so many hours into it. So then you develop this relationship with this tool that, is a little bit weird for anybody who's not a magician, I think, at the same time.
But I always think that there are things you can adapt from one world, and by just proposing the question, you can get close to what is it in your space, right? But not having the question at all will prevent you from doing it. And again, it may not be cards, right? So I know sometimes my mentor once told us to write a check out to yourself and carry it with you all the time.
Yeah.
right? And Jim Carrey did that and wrote a check out to himself and wrote $1 million check. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes if you think about it, my mentor would have these post-its that he would post all over the place of his house, affirming the things that he wanted, and he would place them in places that he would always go to. So like he opened the fridge, it was there. When he sat down on the to use the bathroom, eye level would be in his eye line, his sight line, the post-it. The remote control where he would lay it to go and watch TV, it was there. When he went to sleep. So he showed it, it was always present for him in the first place. And I think the reason maybe, and this is obviously hypothetical, but maybe the reason I don't have what I want is because I haven't touched it enough.
Mm.
Like think about it, like if I told you 10,000 touches equals an acquisition, you would be like, oh snap, I gotta figure out like
touch.
And I think what is interesting is to get something, you have to be willing to go to silly. Because if I let's say I want AirPods and then someone says touch this 10,000 times and you'll get it, I look pretty silly doing this.
Yes.
Going to the store and like touching it. And they're like, why you keep touching this? And obviously like pre-COVID, right? Like whatever, like you don't want to keep touching stuff, but it's touching it over and over again. Or maybe it's like every time I go and open up my web browser, I set the actual website on the thing that I want to be the thing that I open all the time. Right? Versus, oh, I open up my browser and immediately it's Google. Well, what if it was the thing that I wanted every single time? So no matter if I touch this computer every day, then every day, whatever I touch or whatever I open every day, I need something to be anchored so that I can go ahead and see it over and over again. But I think that touch point, because when we think about people are like, hey, well, I would go and do this if I knew someone, like that whole proximity is power that Tony Robbins talks about. Yeah. And I'm wondering, like, can't we manufacture the proximity?
Yeah.
If it is power, then the question should be, how do I create proximity to it? And in the beauty of the way where we're living in now is back in the days, there was no internet. I can go to Best Buy right now by just typing the URL. Yeah. Versus back in the days, you're like, Dad, I don't have a car. I can't go to the store. I wonder if they have it. Yeah. And it's like, oh, the store is now available for everyone to visit.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's super powerful.
Yeah. I like you. The anchors is the word. I think, like you say, it's and I don't know if this is ever like 10,000 hours, an amount of time on something to build expertise, but to think of it like, you know, the thing that you want to appear in your life by making that many touch points. And I think there's like, we should do studies on this because I have a feeling that's legitimate. Because if you think about it, like it's common wisdom, right? That the things, I got a cat problem. Maybe 1 second.
Are you good?
The things that we want enough will dedicate the time into learning. And it's often the case that you can point to, if someone says, well, I worked and I didn't get what I wanted, so I quit. And then we'll say, well, you didn't want it enough then.
Correct.
Your why wasn't strong enough.
Yeah. And
so having, manufacturing the desire by anchoring what it is you want into your life, like by trying to keep your why present, you'll find the means to continue to dig and create more of those touches. So it's totally on point. And it seems so simple as you're telling me, like open up your Google, your browser with your homepage set to the thing you want, even if it's like an image of the family or like your vision boarding. Like even we said at the beginning with our green screen opportunity to keep it present in some sort of conscious, symbolism. How much more does that fuel the fire?
I'm telling you,
that's like
more logs. It's like, can we increase the touch point? And here's what I would say. I feel like naturally, whether it's the brain's way of protecting us, we have touched the word no so much.
Mm.
We've touched the things we don't want so much that we get it.
Mm.
Right? It's like,
Yeah,
yo,
right.
I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm like, how many times have you said that?
Mm.
And then and not pause for a moment to realize you hit this nail so many times that there's a hole in the wall that cannot be repaired.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because of the one time you hit it, it was the repetition of doing it over and over again. And I know we hear this over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
but and it's easy to forget, like, hey, anchor it. Like my mentors told me, Gio, I have a 60-second video that I watch every single day that talks about all the things he wants to accomplish.
Mm.
To this day, I've never created the video, but I have asked him, what is it that you do every day? And he told me the video that I created is a 28-second video, if I'm not mistaken. And it says specifically, an affirmation. I make this much per month. I do this easily. I say I love you to my wife every day. He's literally embedding commands. So the first thing he does every day is he watches the 28-second video.
Wow.
And every day tells him, you make $83,333 a month easily. It's not like you make it easily, like it comes to you.
Right.
And now to see that has manifested in his life, I'm like, oh, snap. But it was something that he touched every day for years. And it's the first thing he touches and it's the last thing he touches. So he starts his day that way. And I don't know if I shared with you this before, but like one of the people that I admire, and this way comes as a surprise to some people, and I admire him because of the way he started and he ended his day, was Benjamin Franklin. And not just, I don't know all his history, but we went to Philadelphia. My mentor, who was my boss at the time as well, he took us to Philadelphia on a trip, and he was like, we're going to learn about the independence and we're going to learn about all these different history stuff. And everywhere I turned, and I never cared about Benjamin Franklin. All I knew about Benjamin Franklin was he was on the highest dollar bill in the US money, right? He's the highest dollar bill, but most people would think, what president was he? Because we see presidents on the dollar bill. The highest dollar bill is not a president. And so as I went to Philadelphia, I was like, interesting, as a tour guide told us that. And then as we were walking around, beloved, he would say, and on the left is the library, the first library of Philadelphia, created by Benjamin Franklin. And I was like, oh, so the $100 bill, the library, got it. Then we walked 2 blocks. And here is the first post office in Philadelphia, created by Benjamin Franklin. And I'm going over here and say, by the time we finished the tour, I was like, why is this called Philadelphia again? It should be called Franklin City or something. Like the home that Ben built.
Right.
Because of how many things he touched. And then so I had to go deeper. Like when I see somebody do something successful on that level, I was like, I gotta find out what was their thoughts, because their thoughts produce their things. So I'm like, what was his thoughts? And he had this one thought he did every day. He asked himself 2 questions. What good will I do today? Was the question in the morning. And in the evening, he's documented, what good did you do today? What good will you do? So you're just forecasting, and then taking inventory of what was done at the end of the day. So he checked in and checked out daily.
Brilliant.
Think about, and now I'm starting to do that myself now. Like I've heard this quote before, but now every day I go take notes. Ooh, went to sleep at 3:30 this morning. Don't feel good today. Taking me a little bit longer to start the day.
Yeah.
When I see this log of how I've gone through the week, I can now go and say, oh, those were the ingredients of a good day. Oh, this was the ingredients of a bad day. Pick up the patterns, not from a book, but from the book of my life, then create a plan that is not guesswork. It's documented work that I'm just trying to recreate that was already created subconsciously by me.
Yeah. Using that's man, that's really insightful. It makes so much sense. It seems silly that it's not common practice because it seems logical to me right now, maybe in a different way, but like checking in and checking out, you just like give yourself the conscious reminder. You just it's like turning on your mind to the task, bringing the focus in. And then at the end of the day, not that you give yourself permission to check out completely, but you just, you like marking the end of the intention and then resetting it tomorrow. And then, as you say, when you're recording all that stuff, you get access to data. You're building a collection of data, and data is always revealing. Like,
very true.
The patterns of data are, we could talk about that in a different way, but it's such an important thing. Like that's the nature of knowing stuff. And how many of us really do record or collect data about ourselves? We talked a little bit about like the smartwatch, your fitness too, right? Because that's can be part of the motivation, is being able to track where things go.
That's why it's so powerful. I think that's why there's such a move for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like to be able to say, oh, this is the energy output I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I need to make sure my heart rate don't drop below 145 because I know, right? And it's not, and it's not knowing to criticize. It's knowing to go and have a marker so that you can know where you're going. I can't tell you how many times I've driven on a highway and didn't see exit signs and just got discouraged. I just need to know where I am, right? Like I get that it's a long journey, but can I just know and have some type of awareness 60 miles from now, 90 miles from now, 120 miles from now? Oh, okay, good. Because then it allows you to stay on the road longer.
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier, a lot of us quit prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we don't know if we're going the right way. We have our doubts, we have our insecurities, we bring that along to the picture. And it's like, we're not looking at the data, and I'm taking a course right now on learning Facebook and Instagram ads.
Oh yeah.
The guy uses data so much, and I've never used the word data in my household as much now. I'm like, hey babe, what's the data? And she's looking at me like, what in the statistics class are you doing with me? And I'm sitting here like, what is the data telling you? Yes. And I started to look at, like, when I was at my lightest weight, I was like, what did I eat? And I told her, you know what sucks is I wasn't documenting. And so now I'm looking to recollect these moments of victory, but because I wasn't documenting, I have no data to go and pull from. And I'm like, darn it, like if I just wrote it down like I'm doing now, I would have been able to say, oh, here's the blueprint. And a lot of us are like, what's the blueprint? And I'm like, there's a good chance you've already discovered it. You just didn't write it down.
Right. Brilliant.
You didn't have it. That's why when you go and said, like, oh, I'm in a room at the Magic Conference and all of these people are going to fly in the wall, it's like, well, it's so crazy that maybe the reason you were able to fly was because you were once a fly on the wall.
Right.
Like,
love that. I love that.
Like, you're like, so I just want to be a fly on the wall, and we think that that's nothing. But no, what you're saying is that I want to fly, but I got to be a fly first. And so the key thing now becomes, well, I just got to get in the room, because you don't want to just be a fly on any wall.
Right.
You want to be a fly on the wall that has something happening. And so
right.
I want you to talk a little bit more about that, because I know, like, what was now, obviously, people didn't have to travel to go to the conference, I'm guessing, right? Like, say it was virtual. And I know one of the concerns a lot of times when it comes to performance is, how does it translate in a virtual setting? So how did you find it to be being a fly on the wall virtually? And like, what did you take away? Like, what's your biggest takeaway from the conference?
Yeah, I'd love to share more about it. It was really, the conference, I can tell you, was called The Way of the Wizard.
The Way of the Wizard.
And kind of tongue in cheek, but kind of not, in fact. So all of the magicians who put it together, I've been studying for a few years, and they're not big names in the public. They don't have, you know, marquee shows. But in the world of magic, they're underground legends.
Gotcha.
And the way that they think about magic, a lot of magicians treat their craft as something trivial or something, you know, to poke fun at, or something. They play into the hack lines and the jokes. They use all the canned material. I mean, I did all of these things, so that's how I know. And the three magicians who put it together believe magic is real. They believe in the power of magic to transform.
Yeah.
And so they treat their craft really seriously and talk about using sleight of hand as a tool to communicate. So a lot of the conference, I mean, I learned a ton of technical things, a lot of techniques and a few new effects that I might include in my show. But we mostly talked about like theory and why, and I gained some really great insight into a couple of things. You don't happen to have a deck of cards there, do you?
Do I have a deck of cards? Hold on, let me double check.
Yeah, go check for that, because this will be fun.
Oh yeah.
That sounds like success.
I do got a deck of cards. Hold on.
Yeah. Let me shine excited. I'm really excited to share this with you. This is the coolest thing I've experienced in a long time. And you know that a lot of what I do with a deck of cards involves moves and me controlling the deck of cards. But in fact, not all magic, and those moves that I do, somebody invented them. Somebody created them. But as I was reminded on the weekend, not all magic is invented. A lot of magic is simply discovered.
Not invented. So it was already there.
It's been existing. In fact, it exists in this pack of cards, and it's always existed in a pack of cards. Since the beginning of cards, what I'm going to share with you right now has existed, but it didn't get discovered for centuries. So within the last 100 years, somebody found this out. And what it is, because you can think of a pack of cards, because of all the options, there's 52, you can think of it kind of like a machine with a bunch of moving pieces and parts. And if you consider a deck of cards like a machine, it can be programmed, right? You can program it to carry out certain functions. And this is going to sound strange, but the cards that you're holding in your hand
already sounding strange.
This is going to sound stranger, but the cards in your hands can actually become a polygraph, a lie detector. They can tell you if you're telling the truth or telling a lie. And this is only a tool. I'm not a polygrapher, but they are a polygraph. And I want to try to show you how to do this. So we could use the whole deck. It doesn't need that many cards, actually. Just count 9 cards. Nine cards, and just make sure they're all different.
Okay, hold on. It don't matter what cards they are, though.
It doesn't matter, no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Great. And you just set the deck off to the side. You don't need that anymore.
Okay.
Can you see my cards here? So you're going to deal 3 piles of 3, and that sets the code. 3 squared is a magic number. I don't know if you know the significance of 9, but we don't need to get into it right now. Okay. Any of these piles, Gio, and you don't have to tell me, you have a surface you're working on, but I don't get to see the surface.
Yeah.
Right? That's important. I don't want you to think there's any funny business. Take any of the piles and just have a look at the card on the bottom of it and remember that card.
Got you.
Now, it's very important that you remember this card. Burn in your mind, look at it one more time, because I'm going to invite you to think of other cards as we go. And this is the one you need to remember at the end.
Got it.
Okay. Put that pile on top of one of the other piles. It doesn't matter which one.
Okay.
Good. Now you have a little pile and a big pile. Do you want to put the little pile on the big pile or the big pile on the little pile?
The little pile on the big pile.
Go for it. Put the little pile onto the big pile.
Okay.
So now you've got a card, 1 of 9, selected in the middle of this programmed machine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the machine is a polygraph. It's going to determine whether you're lying or telling the truth. And here's how this is going to work. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and you can lie or tell the truth for any or all or none of those 3 questions. Basically, the choices are entirely yours. I'll tell you what the questions are. The questions will be, what is the value of your card, ace through king? The
So
question will be,
I gotta say yes or say what it is.
yeah, you don't have to say anything yet. I'll just tell you right now what they're going to be. What is the value of your card? What will the suit of your card be? And did you lie or tell the truth or some combination of the 2?
So what is the value?
Yes.
The suit.
The suit.
And did I tell the truth?
Or a lie. Or some
What is the difference between a value and the suit?
Well, let's see. So pick up your little pack.
Okay, got it.
Every card, the name of every card begins the same way, right? The Queen of Spades, the Jack of Diamonds, there's always a the. So we'll put the title, T-H-E, 1 card for each letter.
T-H-E.
And then drop the rest of the packet just on top. Perfect. Pick up that little packet again. Now here's the first question. You can tell the truth or you can lie. You can make it up. What is the value of the card you saw? So you get 7, 6, queen, ace, any one you like. 5. Now that might be a lie. That might be the truth. I don't know what the cards do.
Got you.
So 5 is F-I-V-E. So 1 card per letter, F-I-V-E.
F-I-V-E.
And then drop the rest on top. Great. Pick up the cards again. So the 5, every card has a suit. The 5 of spades or of clubs. You don't get to lie about of. So O-F, 1, 2.
Yeah, 1, 2.
And then drop off on top.
Drop it off.
Now the second question. You can lie or tell the truth. What suit was your card? Hearts, spades, clubs, or diamonds?
Spades.
Spades. Do you spell spades with the S on the end or just spade? It's up to
with the S.
With the S. So we go S-P-A-D-E-S. Take the rest, drop it on top.
All right.
So far, you could be making this up. You could be telling the full truth. It's up to you. The last question is about that. Did you lie, tell the truth, or some combination of the 2?
Some combination of the 2.
So you might say you did both. We could say.
It's possible.
Let's say both. How about you take the top count both? B-O-T-H. And drop the rest on top. Now, believe it or not, let's say, for example, just that last answer. Had you said truth, that would have been 5 letters. You would have ended up on a different card on the top of your pile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had you said lie, that would have been 3 letters. That would be another different card.
Mm-hmm.
That's just with the last question. You could have said instead of 5, a queen or an ace. The suits all have different numbers of letters. All of these decisions were your own. They were lies or truths. And yet, the cards always know. They reveal the truth. The card on the top of your deck is the card you looked at in the very beginning. What was the actual truth? What was the real name of your card?
It was the 8 of spades.
The 8 of spades. So there were a lie and a truth in there. Have a look. Did the cards know?
No! What? Get out of here. Yo, what? Oh, hell no.
Isn't that the most incredible thing you ever saw? Like with 9 cards. I can't take any credit for it. I just got introduced to it, you know? But how amazing is that?
Crazy. This is why I love this stuff, man.
Isn't that so cool?
Crazy.
And the guy, Jared Koff is the name of who I learned it from on the weekend. As he sort of shared this secret, he's like, and it's none of what I'm saying is a lie. Like, this has actually always been a property of a deck of cards. Some of the interpretations, of course, I'm being liberal about, but the principle has always existed. It's contained within a deck. And it's like, man, did that ever make me go, of course, that's my entire approach to magic, is like, magic is right under our noses if only we have the eyes to see it. If only we're looking for it.
Yes, man. Like, so, oh my gosh, my brain is hurting because of all the things I'm thinking about. So how can I use this elsewhere?
The main principle, the main takeaway for me is like that nothing is as it seems. Everything has there's a way to peek behind the curtain, to like dig a little bit into the stuff that we find commonplace and usual, that will reveal some beautiful secrets, some incredible mystery, or point to some, I think it's beauty. I think that's it at the end of the day. Like, that to me is the most beautiful thing, that it exists. And I think beauty is a really powerful, the aesthetic, the power of good aesthetic, and the sense of like appreciation. And beauty is why we love art. It's why we watch television. It's why we listen to music. It's why we create, I think, a lot of the time. And I think it like is the fuel for our fires in so many ways. There's a couple great quotes, and I remember none of them by rote right now, but one of them is like, the whole universe is magic. It's just waiting for us to look for it.
The whole universe is magic. It's just waiting for us to look for it.
To see it. Like, how often do we hear people complain about their day to day? And I get it. People get trapped in stuff that they really don't have a passion for, that they don't love. They're in relationships with people they feel more irritated about than kindness towards, and people feel stuck for whatever reasons. They keep themselves there. But like, and I get off on this tangent all the time, but like, this water bottle is so commonplace, but this is freaking amazing. Like, this is made from earth stuff. And like, mined by thousands of people have gone into the production of this water bottle, not just from like the creation or the imagination of the product itself, but like the technologies required to pull the minerals and metal out of the earth, the pigments required to paint, and the like technology to manufacture these in mass quantity, and then to deliver them somehow into people's hands. Like, just give it 2 minutes of meditation, and you're like, it's mind-bogglingly numbing to think about all of this existence. It shouldn't happen. It's miraculous, but we get so used to it. And I think when we get used to it, we kind of give up and we cash in our chips. And that's why I think this magic has great power to, especially if it's really poignant. There's good magic. And I think this little 9-card miracle is so beautiful. It's so elegant and simple.
It's great. So let me ask you, because you said a word that I think a lot of people will feel, and is the word numbing, right? So it's so mind-boggling that it's numbing.
Yeah.
No one wants numbing, though.
No, that's it.
How do we take the mind-blowing part, the mind-boggling part, like, oh my gosh, how do I turn that oh my gosh into something versus oh my gosh and numb?
Yeah, it's dangerous, isn't it? And I heard myself say numbing.
Fine line, because I'm listening and I'm like, it's so numbing, and I'm like, it is, right? But the feeling I have is almost the opposite of numb, but they're so close to each other that I'm wondering, and I don't know if you may have an answer for this, but like, how do I prevent it from being the numbing? Because it's not that it's their neighbors. It almost feels like they're on the same floor and is the adjacent room.
Yeah, huh? Yeah, I totally. I heard myself say it, and I realize I don't mean it's numbing all the time. Like it can be. I think thinking about possibilities. It's like this is my problem. I wonder a lot, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes possibilities are paralyzing, numbing. Sometimes I have a sense of there's so much I could do, so much I could create that I don't create anything, or that I create a little bit of lots of different things. And this has been my battle in this space for a long time. But I also think the other side of the coin is that we can try to focus so narrowly and get caught up in trying to, we get the one track mind literally, that we ignore a lot of really great opportunities and possibilities outside that would enhance the thing we're focusing on. So I see this polarity, and I could be totally wrong, but I think in our Western world, a lot of people reject possibilities in favor of the certainty of what they can focus on. And so they allow, and in that way, it's also numbing. I think possibilities can be numbing, but I think also focusing and staying, safe in your box of certainty is numbing. Literally, you're turned off your senses from the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think numb is on both sides of the coin. Okay. I don't know. That didn't answer your question though about how you avoid the numbing and how do you use the experience of beauty to propel or compel.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, I think that I don't know, because I've had the experience. When do I experience the sense of numbness? Maybe when I feel overwhelmed by my choices,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel it so much when I'm in the presence of like real beauty. I think that when I'm in the presence of something really great, like if I see or listen to a song, I get goosebumps a lot when I hear music, and that is a way of, for me, kind of like opening my mind to what's possible. I get excited and I want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't often feel like numbness when I'm hearing the song. If it just makes me like, it brings a tear to my eye. I'm like, oh, it's so powerful. It just gives me energy.
Got it.
But I don't know. I wish I could say more about that, but I recognize there's like possibilities can have a dark side for sure.
Yeah, I think it goes if there it's the analysis by paralysis type of thing that can come up. And it's like, oh man, that's cool, but what else is possible? And I wonder if then we run into the risk of being a run-on sentence and never and instead of thinking about it as, well, I don't know if this sentence should end here, so I become a run-on sentence versus just writing many sentences.
Right.
And it's like, oh snap, like I can say more and use a period.
Yep.
Versus just keep talking. And
Yep.
it's like, yeah, but like, it's got to stop somewhere. And so I think that's the part of the challenge where I think, like, as I'm watching this back, I'm like, there's endless possibilities. And then we can think to something endlessly and never do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's also problematic. And so when I started thinking about it, and as you were talking, I was like, well, it sounds like both of them are needed. So do we create a system that gives us that kind of nudges us in both directions? So like if I'm a person who thinks in endless possibilities, then do I hire or ensure that within my sphere of influence is someone who likes to put periods? Right? If you know that about yourself, like I can't, I'm a dreamer. Well, then do you need to make sure you have someone who's a realist just to reel you in enough so that you don't go far into the abyss to a point of no return? Or if you're a person who's so finite, do you need someone who comes and says, well, have you thought about it this way? And stretch that, make that sentence a little bit longer, because you're so good at putting periods on the end of stuff. I wonder if that's the system behind it, so that you are able to have, for lack of a better term, I can have my cake and eat it too.
A great way of saying it, man. I like that a lot. The run-on sentence versus the person one who can extend it and one who can stop it, or pause it, or tighten it. Totally. And like, this is the thing about, I mean, we are, we're well versed in this stuff, and always learning. I don't ever want to, like I said in previous things, I feel like I don't know a lot of anything. And there's Kitty, and there's contradicting advice. We could say what you need in your life are more possibilities. And there's a very real chance, like without knowing you, that you don't need more possibilities. What you need is focus. You need to make a choice.
So in other words, you're talking to me, because what you just said is exactly, what is this? This is December 11th. So, at the time of recording this, but I'm in a crossroads now where I am feeling like I have to make a decision, whether it's for a season or whatever. I have to decide, is it possibilities or focus, right? And I did this test. I forgot what it's called. And someone said, Gio, based on the results of the test has shown that you are Rambo. And I said, what does that mean, Rambo? And he said, what I mean by Rambo is you're a machine gun. However, your next level of growth is to become a sniper. And I heard this must have been said to me a year ago. And I still feel like I am machine gun-like. And I'm not, I have seen growth, but not exponentially. And I'm wondering if it's because my exponentially is not supposed to be in the possibilities, because it's already overdone.
Right
now I have maybe 160 ideas logged somewhere, and I'm like, more possibilities. Right? And I'm curious, because now I've been, when you see something more than once, you're like, okay, I think something is happening here. And so you said, like, hey, maybe you're getting bad advice, and it's like, okay, well, the possibilities, and they're like, yes, possibilities. But then the other side of it is like, focus. Where does that come into the mix? And the question I would ask myself, and maybe somebody else who's listening to this can maybe feel the same way, is, have I tried focus for real? I've tried possibilities. I can't say with certainty that I've tried focus or tried it long enough for focus to materialize into something.
I have the same problem as I mentioned, like, and there's a, in brain chemistry, I'm sure my brain is just doping right up every time I come up with an idea, and I'm like, oh, that's it. That's the game changer. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I so we'll invest some time, and then it gets boring, or I lose sight of why it was so important, or I lose that feeling. It's like, okay, what's next though? What is the thing? And becoming a sniper is hard for me too. I like that analogy.
I
think as you were talking, what I wanted to ask you was, where in your life are you already a sniper? Because I guess my guess is you're like, I'm not sure this is true, but my guess is that all people are both the machine gun Rambo and the sniper. And I had like so many thoughts pop in my head as you were talking. A few years ago, I did a training at my job when I was working in youth coaching. We had a training on polarity thinking. And the basic metaphor was that we need both inhales and exhales to survive.
I'm about to throw these cards at you. Oh my gosh.
They can't, and it's a dangerous thing to push or to promote one style of thinking or one way of being, because it's not that simple. Things are complex. And so we are both the shotgunning possibilities, or whatever you want to call it, right? We're constantly questing for ideas and novelty. And there are areas in our life where we know what's we're after and we create it, for better, for worse. We're both the sniper and the machine. I don't know if that's true for everybody. That's part of what I have to add that.
You really just helped me. I don't know. I know I need both. And I don't know that. I now, the inhale, exhale, it hit different for me. Cause I think if you say you need to be both the machine gun and the sniper, I get it. But I don't really get it though. Like for real. I do get well then just inhale. And I'd be like, I can't. Like at some point, I'm going to have to exhale. Well then just exhale. Well, at some point, I'm going to need to inhale. And I think when I look at that scenario, I'm like, well, then if I just use the same idea and say, well, be a sniper. Okay, but at some point, I'm going to have to be a machine gun. Be a machine gun. All right, well, at some point, I'm going to have to be a sniper. And I think what I've been missing is I never realized at some point. There will be a moment when you will have to. And I'm like, I have never come to accept that there will be a moment. And because I've never accepted that, the moment continues, because I haven't accepted it, is escaped me. The inhale, exhale, though, is an amazing illustration.
Isn't it? It's so brilliant.
It's so simple, it's non-threatening. And I do it all the time.
You can't survive without it. They need to be in balance. And like that thought, as you were talking, like it gives you permission to have the facets of yourself, right? It gives you permission to, it also gives you permission to forgive yourself. Like you recognize that in different contexts, you will show up differently as you need to. Not to say that everything is, forgivable and you shouldn't try to be your best, but often for me, I get caught up on the ways I'm not being my best. And I find those hard to forgive. And then I don't step into my best. I don't let it go and like actually move forward. But if it's like, no, when this is way more complex, you can't be a certain way all the time. And in fact, you need to be different ways lots of times. And possibilities and focus maybe are on two opposite sides of the spectrum, but both are necessary. And oscillating. You go back and forth.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I love these chats. It's so good. Isn't it?
I'm messed up for the rest of the day. Like, that is so crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Inhale. I need both.
So many things in life are like it. It's just like, what a great model for thinking. And it changed the way I think about self-help, the field of self-help and delivering expertise, because it's not always the right thing for somebody. And even though I like want to discover universal truths, man, they're way more complex.
So how do you fully go in? So then how do you, I'm thinking like, okay, well, if I'm going to do self-help, there's a part of it. And I've seen this where I've given options versus talking absolutes, and I've also seen the negative or the harm in talking in absolutes, right? So it's like, you got to do it this way.
Yeah.
In fact, it happened to me this morning. One of the people who signed up for my book course, she said to me, Gio, your course says, here's how to build a chapter outline.
Mm-hmm.
And I was torn because the other day, while I tried to do that, a book came to me and it didn't have chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I start to ask myself, am I doing this right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Gio said chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, well, I'll just share it with Gio anyway. And what we discovered was her book was actually a children's book, which doesn't lead itself to chapters in that format. And so she wasn't wrong. She was just a different part of right.
Yeah, and could have thought she was wrong.
Oh, no, she thought she was wrong. Not could have. She thought she was wrong.
Right. Or maybe, and could have, that thought could have translated into her dropping the book or, giving up on something. That would have been maybe great.
100%. She almost did give up.
Yeah.
I'm grateful she wrote the book. She literally wrote the entire book, the children's book, in 90 minutes. And she started writing at 1:00 in the morning and wrote the whole thing on her cell phone.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank goodness she did.
And the whole time thinking she was wrong.
Yeah.
Because I said something with a certain level of certainty that she became uncertain of the thing that she needs to give birth to.
Like, wow, what a reminder of the power.
I was like, dang. And when I spoke to her this morning, she literally was like, Gio, like, this is so refreshing to know I wasn't wrong. I was just I was on the same road. So she was still traveling westbound.
Mm-hmm.
She was just going off on an exit and will return back on the road later on.
Yep.
And I think it brings back full circle what we're saying about, like, there's many ways to do things, and we have to be careful, especially if you're in a position to lead people, to give them the space to discover their own genius.
Mm-hmm.
Because people look at a teacher and say, you're the genius, I'm the student. They never think that it's just a genius meeting a genius at a different time, or we're in just different places, but we're both geniuses.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Super.
No, this is good. I love it. This is good stuff, man. So I think the inhale, exhale piece, I'm gonna have to sit on that one for a long time. That one is a geez.
It's a great, I can't remember somebody has proposed the name of the theory as polarity thinking. And I don't remember who that is, but
it's interesting because I teach the law of duality, which I think is similar. The two things, like, you got, as a leader, you need to set the temperature in the room, but at the same time, you need to also make sure you read the temperature.
That's it.
Right? You can't be like, yeah, I'm the one who set the temperature in the room. Well, what if I feel like it's too hot? Mm-hmm. But you don't care to read it, so you don't ever see what's happening. You just think, I just set the temperature.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but don't the people matter? Like,
yeah, exactly.
The polarity pieces, and I think this is why I love these conversations, because all we're doing is thinking out loud.
That's it. Just chatting ideas.
Just thinking out loud, and then the thoughts that stick, great. Like one of my mentors said, "Hey, take the meat off the bones and throw it out. Whatever you deem to be the meat, right? And not what I say it is." And it's just so powerful. But yeah, good, man. We'll put a bow on it here. But I think definitely what I learned with these cards, right? I think that there's a power, just kind of recap, of just how this in itself has embedded in it a true, like you said, the what is it? Polygraph, right? It's like itself. And I think what I take away from that illustration is that it's already in it. It's already in it. It's hard sometimes to trust this, but if you think about it as like it's like you said, a machine, and it already is fully functional. We just have to trust the function that it has. And I almost wonder if we looked at people instead of trying to fix them and see them you're a fully functioning human being. We just have to trust that there's function within you and to help one another discover it. Like you said, it's not being invented. How cooler of an experience that will be for both the pupil and the teacher. I love this.
I said it better myself, man. That's absolutely brilliant.
This is dope, man. Oh, shucks, 9 cards. I literally thought I was gonna get you, and I always do that. I always think, like, oh, you're gonna see. I'm gonna show you, like, I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna tell the truth. I mean, you can't read me, and it's like, and here's the crazy thing. This before we go, I thought I can game you, and you understood that you're not playing against me. like think about this. I am not even focused on the opponent, supposedly. I'm like, yo, B-Love, you're gonna get it wrong.
Yeah.
Not realizing that you're like, but it's a system.
Yeah.
And so while you're competing with me, and I always think this is that whole idea of like, someone's playing chess, someone's playing checkers. Like, ooh, I'm gonna show you, and you're over here, not sweating, not worried about anything, because you're like, I'm not doing anything.
It's not me.
It's not right. It's not you.
It's not me.
Shucks, man. Listen, I look forward to doing this stuff. I know the holidays is coming soon, but guys, please, if you guys love these episodes, share it with somebody. Don't just watch it and oh snap. Yes, leave a comment if you see it, but at the same time, please share it with others. That's the only reason why we recorded it, is so that this you would have the permission to go ahead and think too. And so hopefully by sharing this, we'll kind of awaken the thinker in everyone. And if we do that, then everything else will turn on too.
That's it. It's all discover.
Discover. Don't, you're about to make me change my credit card. Stop.
All right, my man. All right, man. Let's do it again.
All right, we'll do it.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, Jay, have a good one.